What up? All right. We in the game, baby. What's going on in the hood? Sorry, I got a little bit of a late start. I was on what they call diaper duty. But I'm back in the game. What's going on? Hold on. Let me make sure everybody's in okay. Give me 1 second. We get this party started. All right. We in the game. Let me know if the audio's okay and we get a party. All right, let's do it. I think everybody's in. Let's do the Lord's work, baby. Good. All right. Yo, so hey, looking even after this MU news, we did not get a big, gap down. If anything, MU's kind of been, the dip's been getting bought so far. So we'll see how this reacts. It was looking, we were looking pretty weak for a second, and now, it came right down into the 50-day moving average, which has been a spot for MU. So, you're getting this, bought. They did pretty much kind of, their earnings were met in line. But if you look at just how extended it was going into earnings, those kind of beats, when you have an earnings beat, you really want like a big base. If you don't get the big base, then you end up with all sorts of fugazis. All right. So you want the just nice big base to come out of when you come up with earnings. So, if you're playing like in earnings and you think like you're going to really rip after 3 or 4 stages of uptrend, especially after this kind of big down day, that's a little bit more fool's gold. So this is probably a nothing burger for today. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think, and we saw signs of this yesterday, that, there was a little bit of rotation into other types of tech yesterday that there were not, happening before. And so I wouldn't say that dreaded rotation everybody's been going into small caps and all that stuff is there, but we do got, a little bit of a flip over here. So the IWM is still in range. And so when I say rotation, I'm not talking about this, but yesterday, right, we saw kind of the weakness in semiconductors, but you had a nice push in finally in Tesla, which was, right, a welcome breakout. You saw a big run in Amazon. And so, right, you're breaking out the all-time highs on this. And this was a power push yesterday on Amazon. You can't discount something like this, right? You kind of just go red to green, flag patterns, right? You've got all the boots in the coots on this. So semiconductors, weak, yes. Are they maybe going to take a breather? Maybe not. Who knows, right? But we did see some different types of names roll in yesterday. And I think that's probably, the big thing. And you can see here, dude, these, you never see this kind of stuff on Amazon, right? Look at the calls on this bad boy. When you start to see this kind of action, even on, right, large cap names, then there's really no point. Why would anybody trade small caps or anything like that, right? Look at this stuff. Right, you got 800, 500, 800% gains, on the weeklies. Yeah, that's all you can do, right? And so you have Tesla doing very, very similar action here, where you came off and you boosted into the red to green, sure, but then beyond that, dude, you got all this heat that's coming about, right? So you see something like this. I mean, this is a good sign. You want to see these names that have been just marinating and percolating, for so long. Dude, you want to see these things starting to really push. I think that's That was the healthy thing of yesterday. And, ideally, we want to see this kind of stuff, right? We want to see this kind of stuff happening. Like, look at the option, right? You're opening down at $1.50, right? By the end of the day, you're going to $8. I'll never understand why anybody wants to trade small caps when you can have, right, 400, 500% gains just trading on the option side. So this is all, I think this is all very welcome for, what's been happening. Now let's take a look here because, we've actually got a pretty nice open on this. You got a weak open on Tesla here today. And, you got a little bit of a gap on Amazon. But I think we want to try to hit these on dips here today, so you can't chase this up as you're kind of outside the top of the Bollinger Band, but it'll dump a couple points at some point today. And then you want to see how exactly it holds. I think that's going to be in the cards. You can even see, right, Google's finally broken out here. So we have all of this. It's still all big tech. It's still all big tech. There's still nowhere to go except big tech. But the big hairy Indian butt is that, at least it's not like we're just staring at NVIDIA and MU. We got a couple other things that we're going to watch. And, take it easy today. We got a nice debate between two geriatrics today, which is going to be pretty sick. Hey, Paula, how you doing? This is daily charts and 5-minute charts, which is typically how I like to keep my day trading. If you're swing trading, you really just need to look at daily charts. If you're day trading, you want to keep an eye on both. You need to always picture is and then align it with the little picture. If you don't do that, then what's going to happen is, you're going to have a lot of crisscrossing on your time frames. The worst thing you could do when you're day trading is day trade something where the daily chart is no good. Hold on, let me get my serums on here. Woo! You got to leave like 5-6 minutes in between serums. That's the key. Because you got to put your serum on, and you got to let it soak into the skin, really kind of get into the layers. But then you don't want to put your next layer of serum on before the other one soaks in. Otherwise, you're just not going to get all the goodies. All right. Now, when you're going with a multi-serum approach, you want to make sure that you layer the serums on in the right sequence too. For example, hyaluronic acid keeps all the moisture in, but if you put too thick of a layer, then the other serums are not going to come in properly. So you got to layer on the serums proper. Now, let's take a look here. Meta. I think this one, you've got a really nice spot over here. You got a really nice spot over here. If you can come out of this zone, then you're coming into the 526 like pretty quickly. And you can see the dips already get bought in the pre-market. Hey, John White, this is a program called TC2000. TC2000. It's something I've used for just years and years and years. You can, if you want, you can come in, you can have my layouts and stuff like that. Yeah, I think if, the first month's like $5 or something like that. But yeah, if you want my layouts or anything, I can get those to you. No big deal. So what we have here is we got really some nice sweet spots in Meta, right? We got a nice sweet spot in Amazon. We got really a sweet spot developing in Apple. We had this yesterday. I had the 212s. The 212 calls on this, I mean, they were flying. I bought them on the dip here, like near 1. I mean, they hit $3. Of course, I sold early because I'm a piker. I'm a piker galore. But, we still had a really nice rip on them. So you want to, we've got these kind of few names that are still marinating here. And I want to just remind everybody, right? We're going to be a little bit weak, in terms of action for, probably the next couple of weeks. Earnings season starts in like 2 weeks, right? So the kickoff of earnings season is always Alcoa. That's when the market will probably speed up. It's not that Alcoa is important. It's just the ticker, right? AA is usually the kickoff of earnings season. Banks also come the week before. And so that's always going to be, Samka, you've been in the chat room for years. If I say I buy Apple, you just, I buy Apple. You do your own, you do your own strikes. I got slippery fingers. Now let's get into this. So I want you to look in for the QQQs. We're in a little bit of a resting phase. All right. So I'm not thinking there's too much action here. If we come out of this zone, then, we've got a little bit of backing and filling over here that I think will be important. On the SPY, you can see here we're holding at support. We're kind of rounding our way back. And, we're still in a couple different things. We're in a primary uptrend, right? So the long-term trend is higher. The short-term trends are higher and the intermediate terms higher. So this is what we call the Goldilocks zone. The Goldilocks zone is where you have really all your trends aligning. That's where the best trading usually is. That's where the best trading is. That's where you can do overnighters and you can do day trading. So what I mean by overnighters is you can't swing trades when you're holding stocks overnight. You can't swing trade in every market, right? You can't swing trade in every market. If you try to do that, you end up with you end up with choppiness. For swing traders, most of your money is made in like a handful. As swing traders, most of your money is going to be made in about 3 months of the year. Day trading, you can scalp all year. But swing trading, you got a handful of times going on this what? Yo! Let's take a look at PanW. Man, I was going to buy this yesterday, and I was running out of ammo. So this PanW does look like it's got a nice spot on it. I was looking at the 330s yesterday. This is going to open up pretty good. The thing with PanW is, too, it doesn't have to move much for the calls to really get because it's been in consolidation for so long. It doesn't got to move much for the calls to get juicy on it. Let's take a look at CRM. So I thought CRM looks semi-okay. There's a setup we call, right, which is, the earnings gap reversal, which only happens in hot markets. And I was looking at this MDB as something similar. I thought it had a little bit more range than CRM. You had 15 points of range or whatever yesterday. And so I thought this one had maybe a little bit cleaner spot, a little bit more explosive. But, the big hairy Indian butt is that it trades a little bit thinner, right? So similar look. I just thought that, there's less drama on this one. Good. Now let's take a look, guys, at earnings. Hey, and just one kind of speculative thing to kind of keep an eye on. We got the debates today between the Trumpster and old Biden, and Trumpster's been coming out, with a lot of support on crypto recently, and the SEC has been after Coinbase and kind of Ethereum and some of these things here. If the Trumpster, dusts up Biden without looking like an asshole, right? Because it's you don't want to pick on somebody with dementia, but if he dusts him up without looking like an asshole, I wouldn't be surprised to see coin have a little pop. So if we get some weakness on this in a decent setup, I might flip a couple lottos, going into tomorrow. Because if the Trumpster dusts him up, then you may see a gap on this bad boy too. So just kind of keep that as a little bit of a lotto. Let's go in, bros and hoes, and let's go in and take a look and see what kind of earnings plays we got, or any kind of news plays out there that could be juicy. So BSFC's got a PR out. Guys, this is a pump and dump stock. Let me just repeat, this is a pump and dump stock. This used to be $6,000. This is for very, very fast day trading and people with very dexterous and nimble fingers and hands. Otherwise, you probably want to leave that alone. I don't ever really see an edge on this. There's some decent kind of scalpy McGee's you can do on this. There were a couple yesterday that were running around too. But you do got to be careful. Like, this is for a very, very sweet spot of the trading population. It's a rare bird. So I just probably leave that alone. Let's go in and keep taking a look here. Kala. So when you have stocks with news out, like see this bad boy, you get 12 million in private placement. But if you look at the location here, right, it's just gapping up into just like kind of in no man's land, right? So anytime you take a PR out, like you need this thing to clear out some levels, right? Like see this Medi Petty, this is probably right a little bit more clean than the other ones, right? You have all this airspace up ahead. Now this one lacks a lot of liquidity, so it has no liquidity, so you got to leave it alone. Yeah, this is all junk. I think till earnings season, we're not really going to have some of this. Target Hospital reduces revenue outlook. Stock goes up. Boom, 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 boom. See, this one also lacks a ton of liquidity. Just a nasty looking chart. Hey, Christian, what's going on? Let's take a look at your BA here. Look, this is also in a chop zone. So if you look here, like, of course, you have the downtrend, and then you have just this nasty kind of range on this. Most likely, like these kind of ranges don't resolve themselves till you get some type of series of PRs out or like that overhang is gone. So it can release itself possibly, over this 180 for a couple points. But is it like a long-term, like big mama jamma setup? It's not, right? It's maybe a little bit more of a scalpy McGee. RH is also boosting up on some insider buying. I don't think there's really much into that one either. So let's kind of keep this thing moving here. What day do we got, by the way? Man, MLGO. Damn, Zaman, you playing with fire. You've been with me a long time. You still trading this stuff? You still trading this stuff? I see it. I see it. It's a heartbreaker, though. It's a heartbreaker. Hey, Pampo, how you doing? It's a Pamplona. What up, baby? Man, anytime I see this tail here, I think you're in for a little bit of a suckers game. So I would personally probably leave that alone. Not my personal flavor. Hey, Sassy Passy. Zaman, you nasty, man. You nasty. Guys, let's take a look. There's not really any good, kind of gapper plays. Let's just take a look on the news front and see if we've got something that is juicy over here. Oh, let's see here. Hold on here, man. All right. Morning. So economic calendar, durable goods, 8:30. GDP was a nothing burger. Initial jobless claims, that also was a nothing burger. So we don't got a crazy amount of news, like anything that's actually worth a damn. Let's take a look and see if we got just any kind of PRs or anything goofing around on this thing. Little thing froze. All right, back at it. So yeah, with no real economic news here, jobless claims is always like a little some, but a lot of this stuff is priced in at the moment. So we got no Fed speakers. We got really just like a little bit of what we call a quiet period in the market till earnings season comes out, shareholder meetings. I didn't see any of these. None of these is going to be really impactful. NVIDIA had one yesterday. It moved around a little bit on that, but nothing crazy here. Pre-market movers, junk. This is just a big poo-poo platter. If we even look at like upgrades, you got really nothing that's, I don't think, anything special. Let's see if we got anything else juicy on this. What the heck? Who messes with my layout? There we go. So let's see here if we got anything juicy. So we got a couple upgrades here, but nothing worth anything worth taking here. So you got D Dog. This has got a nice chart on it. Zuo, junk. EMU, they're defending it. PanW outperform. Really like nothing in the sweet spot of life here. Nothing big. You look at upgrades, like you want to see the ones, the holy grail for upgrades is always like Bank of America, it's the big banks, right? Bank of America, JP Morgan, Citi, there's a couple other like, primary smaller shops that still can do it. Like this Wainwright does them okay sometimes, but usually you want to see them out of the big boys. So we got a little bit of a quiet period on that too. Nothing big on the upgrades, right? Usually Ball Sacks does a couple good ones. So a little quiet on that one. If you're looking at kind of like it just Mag 7 News, you got really nothing big coming here. Junk. Big hairy Indian butt on most of these. So this is going to be when you have a day like today where you don't have like really a lot of news out. What you want to make sure you're doing is, you got to be a little bit selective with your plays. Okay. So let's get into the actual watch list of my favorites and let's see like what we're doing here. Right. So this Mongo Bongo, this is a little bit more speculative because this thing got dumped on earnings. But if we are getting a rotation into some software names, right? So say the semiconductors are going to be a little bit weak and we start to rotate into some of these software names. If this thing starts to fill the gap over here, you already saw a really good range on it. I think you got a lot of upside on this, over here. You could probably take the options on it and go, a few weeks out, and you probably, you go with the 250s or, something along that end. You'll probably get them pretty cheap. You're gonna have to find the ones that are a little bit liquid and make sure you watch your size. But I got a decent feeling on this one. It may need like a small inside day to get going, but it's got a good look to it. Now we got Tesla here. All right. Tesla's got the range break. You got a week open on this bad boy. All right. When you get a week open on a stock like this after such a big run, the primary play to try to do is a red to green. Now, if the red to green doesn't hold, you're going to have to be careful. It may dump off. Tesla is known to like kind of have like big up days, see right here, and then get torn apart. Big up days and torn apart. Big up days and torn apart. Now, the difference between like, see, big up day, torn apart. Now, the difference between here, and here is the location. You got your moving averages supporting this stock right up underneath, right? Just pulling it right up under the kitchen. So it's a little bit much better location than it has been in the past, where it's been just having kind of these big mega penis candles, but they've been coming out of nowhere. So you want to be a little bit careful on this bad boy, but we got a week open on the big hairy Indian buddies. We got a week open on this. I think it's got a chance if we can take out this. It's very similar to yesterday. You guys got to have, by the way, very fast fingers, right? For those of you guys in our chat room, like you got to always remember when you get these week opens, as soon as it goes red to green and takes it out, like you can't always wait for me, right? I'm saying, hey, I'm buying this, but I'm furiously like buying shares, contracts, multiple accounts and trying to do all this, right? You got to have your fingers ready to like fucking shred, because by the time, if you're sitting there scrambling, trying to pull up a chart, put it in your trading platform, then what ends up happening is, you're already, a couple dollars late. So you do want to be just like super mindful as you're going through all this. Like this thing will move fast. If it goes red to green today and hopefully it dumps off a little bit more into the pre, I think we're going to have ourselves, good hootenanny. Amazon, I want to hit, but only on dips. All right. So I won't chase any strength up on this. It's already gapping up 1.5% or 1.5 points. It's got to pull back a little bit. Apple. This could also go right off at the open, and so keep an eye on this one. 215. dude, we're in for a good spot on this. All right. 215. It's got a date with 220. Now, the question is like, what kind of drama does it take before it gets there? It may need a little bit of a pull before you roll, but it's drifting higher on this one. The speculative one that I personally like is, we've got this shop here. I'm liking the overall look of this thing. So if you look at your hourly chart on shop, you got a release point here right around 65, 75, 66, something along this end. Man, that's a good looking setup right there with the date with the 200-day moving average. So nothing crazy, 3 points, 4 points, you might get out of it, but it could do it. I think it does it really, really quickly. Yeah, I think it's going to do it really, really quickly. That's where we got to be. Man, that's nice. Let's add this one. Week open, red to green. We take this thing. Let's go in. Hey, Netflix has got a spot at 685. I personally won't trade this one myself. I suck at this one. There's something about the liquidity in this one that just gets me every time. I'd leave this one personally a little bit alone on my end, but I like the look. CRDO, dude, this one is hot. Right? This one is pretty hot. You've got just a really easy spot here at 30. You don't got to do much. Don't got to get too quick, too cute with it. If it breaks 30 and it starts to hold over there, it starts to build over there, you're going to be in for a nice spot here. It could go quick. Now, it does trade a little bit thin. Normally it's doing like, maybe 1 million or 2 million shares a day in volume. So you got to watch your size. If a stock is doing 10 million shares, you can get a lot more size than if a stock is doing 1 million shares. So watch how many shares you buy. If you normally would buy 2,000, you got to probably be in 1,000, something along that end. Meta's got a spot here too. I think this is another one. Like you want to make sure you're holding this bad boy and just like, watching this level here. It may dip off a little bit before it goes because you're on 3 up days on it already. It's known to do that where it's just kind of like it dipsy-doos and then it kind of rebounds over. What I mean by dipsy-doos and rebounds over is if you look at it yesterday, for example, right? Like it's never linear with this thing. It dips off and then it starts to grind its way, but there's wicks all over the place. So they always make it a little bit dramatic. There's something just with Meta. It's a rundy. So I like this one. We need a 514, kind of 514 break and hold, maybe a little bit, and guys, these are all just zones, right? Like, when somebody says like, hey, this is the resistance point, that's not necessarily like, okay, this is like this epic buy spot. This is what it means is this is the area that you want to start looking at it on a shorter term time frame, right? You want to start studying it a little bit more to look for clues that it's going to start to, break through. Hey, Microsoft's got a little bit of a flag on it too at 554. This is not a sexy setup, but there's a scalp setup on this. And this one, for those of you degens out there, this Snapchat has got a big time breakout here. If it can get over 17, it's got a big time breakout. It had a big push on it. Normally it doesn't move much, but if you look 2 days ago, it had about a 7% push, and then we had an inside day on it. So a really narrow range day on this. When you get something like that, folks, you're in for a treat, right? So let's keep this. It's top of the list. I think this one's that's got a chance, right? Let's see how that one works. And now I want to add a couple shorts on this, all right? This Vista print is looking like a bear flag. I actually thought maybe it was rounding out, but I was wrong. It's broken under the 50-day moving average. You got a sweet spot here. If it can take out this range, 84, 85, start looking at it for an ORB pattern. And I think we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a hootenanny. What do you think? Oh, yeah. Got to keep. So right now with the market kind of grinding up, you should have 2 to 3 short setups every single day, right? You never know. What a lot of people do is they just take their normal stocks, like, hey, I got Tesla on my watch list. I got Microsoft on my watch list. And when they need to short, they just short it. And you have really no rhyme or reason to it. And so then you end up with some bad results. This had a really, really good range on it yesterday. Really good range on it. It's got good enough liquidity. Let's see here. You did 6-7 million shares. So I like the overall look of this. It's got a spot on it. And then mRNA. Ooh. Guys, this was a beauty yesterday, by the way. It really was. So, you gapped down, and then had a big follow through. Fuck, why weren't we in this bad boy? No, I know. You know what? I had this on my watch list for a few days, and then I just took it off. And you can see here, right, we end up with a VWAP fizzler and all this good stuff. Damn, that's nice. You very rarely see such clean trends on this stock. And now you've dumped under this 50-day moving average, and you've dumped under, right, the old breakout spot. And it looks like probably you're coming back in. This was a longer term. These longer term, sometimes these, rubber band setups, they become just longer term shorts. Should have just swung it, huh? Damn, that's hot, right? So now, you don't want to chase this thing off, after like a 15% down day. See how it spikes up. Say you start to squeeze up a little bit and you get into kind of this zone of love over here. Then what you want to start doing is watching to see if it rolls over, and then we'll have ourselves a little bit of a hootenanny. So I like mRNA. I like VSTs for potential shorts, right? And then on the upside, right, we want to go Mongo Bungo, Tesla, Amazon only on a pull, Apple over 214.50, the Shopzilla over 65 and some change. Hey, Nolan, what up, baby? CRDO over 30. And then Meta's Meta's at the spot, but I think it's got to dip off, and then we want to try to hit it. Let me take a look at SMAR, baby. Yeah, you're getting there, buddy. I'd probably let it just boost up a little bit more, and then I think you'll be okay. Doesn't even matter, gonna make it or not. Good. All right, guys, I gotta roll. I'll be in the Discord room. Peace in the Middle East.